Good evening, seekers of truth and connoisseurs of the complex human drama. Welcome back to the only sanctuary where celebrity narratives are not just reported, but dissected with the precision of a surgeon and the soul of a poet. You are watching Whatever You Need. Tonight, we stand at the precipice of a story that has done far more than merely ruffle the feathers of the tabloid press. It has fundamentally rewritten the rules of engagement for former lovers in the public eye. We are about to unravel a tale of high fashion, higher stakes, and a confrontation that was fought not with weapons, but with words of devastating elegance. Before we descend into the glittering chaos of this Istanbul night, we ask that you secure your place in our community. Please subscribe to the channel, press the like button to signal your appreciation for deep dive journalism, and for those who wish to walk the red carpet of our inner circle, we strongly urge you to click the join button. Your direct support allows us to remain independent and unflinching. Now let us turn our gaze to the grand opening that became a battlefield of emotions. The city of Istanbul, a metropolis that has witnessed empires rise and fall, played host last night to a different kind of sovereignty struggle, one of the heart and the ego. The occasion was the grand opening of a new, ultra-luxurious hotel, a beacon of opulence designed to attract the crème de la crème of Turkish society. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume, and the electric hum of anticipation. Limousines idled like great black beasts at the curb, depositing stars onto a red carpet that seemed to stretch into infinity. It was the kind of night where smiles are polished like diamonds and secrets are guarded like state treasures. However, no scriptwriter, no matter how imaginative, could have drafted the sequence of events that was about to unfold under the unforgiving glare of the paparazzi flashes. The tension was not merely palpable. It was a physical weight, pressing down on the chest of every observer present. The equilibrium of the evening was first disturbed by the arrival of Barış Arduç. For years, his name has been inextricably linked in the public imagination with a certain redhead co-star, a phantom pairing that fans have refused to exorcise. Yet, when the doors of his vehicle opened, it was not the ghost of the past that emerged, but a very present, very tangible reality. To the collective gasp of the assembled press corps, Barış stepped onto the carpet not alone, but hand in hand with a woman of striking elegance, a mysterious figure whose identity was as shielded as it was intriguing. Minutes later, as the whispers about Barış's new companion were beginning to crescendo into a roar of speculation, the atmosphere shifted violently. Elçin Sangu arrived. And she did not simply arrive, she manifested. If Barış's entrance was a statement, Elçin's was a manifesto. She was draped in a spectacular red dress, a garment of such vibrant crimson that it seemed to absorb all the light in the venue and radiate it back with intensified power. The color red is never an accidental choice. It is the color of passion, yes, but also of war, of blood, and of unyielding vitality. She moved with a cadence that suggested she was walking to a rhythm only she could hear. There was no hesitation in her step, no darting of the eyes to see who was watching. She looked confident, powerful, and arguably more beautiful than she has ever appeared in her career. It was as if she had anticipated the narrative the media was preparing to spin, the narrative of the said ex, or the jealous former co-star, and had dressed specifically to burn that script to ashes. She stood alone, yet she occupied more space than any couple on that carpet. Of course, the press, driven by an insatiable hunger for conflict, could not let this visual poetry stand without challenge. The narrative arc was too perfect, the former on-screen lover arriving moments after the real-life romance was debuted. The question was inevitable, hanging in the air like a guillotine blade waiting to drop. A reporter, perhaps braver or perhaps more reckless than the rest, stepped forward, microphone extended like a weapon. Elçin, he began, the name heavy with implication. Have you seen that Barış came with his new girlfriend? They say she is very beautiful, and that they could make a great couple. What do you think about it? Do you feel like you have competition now? The silence that followed was deafening. The crowd held its collective breath. This was the trap. This was the moment where a lesser star might falter, offering a forced smile, a shaky, "I wish them well," or a bitter comment disguised as a joke. They wanted a reaction, they wanted a crack in the armor. But Elçin Sangu does not crack. With a composure that should be studied in acting schools, she turned her gaze directly into the lens of the camera. She did not flinch. She did not look away. She smiled, but it was not the smile of a victim, it was the smile of a queen addressing her subjects. "Look, guys, I'll say this just once," she began, her voice steady, devoid of any tremor. "I don't pay attention to what others are doing. Boris is a friend, and he can do whatever he wants with his life. But if you ask me about competition, that word isn't in my vocabulary. I don't compete with anyone. I am unique in my path and my career. I don't need to compare myself to anyone to know my worth." Boom. The metaphorical explosion of those words resonated through the venue more loudly than any thunderclap. It was an incredible declaration of radical self-acceptance. In an industry built on comparison, on who is younger, who is prettier, who is more successful, Elçin Sangu opted out of the game entirely. She rejected the premise of the question. We must pause to digest the magnitude of this response. Elçin Sangu didn't just answer a question, she dismantled a patriarchal stereotype that pits women against each other for the validation of a man. Here at Whatever You Need, we celebrate this kind of strength. What about you? Have you ever had to shut down a comparison that made you uncomfortable? How did you handle it? We want to read your stories and your analysis of Elçin's body language in the comments below. And remember, if you want to support independent, thoughtful celebrity analysis, the join button is the best way to do it. Become a member and help us keep the lights on. If the red carpet was the theater of war, the interior lounge was the diplomatic negotiation table where the treaties were tested. Witnesses inside the exclusive venue described the atmosphere as electric, charged with the static of unresolved history. Although Elçin had verbally declared her indifference, the physics of the room told a different story. Energy does not lie. It is reported that at a pivotal moment during the evening, the orbits of these two celestial bodies crossed near the drinks table. According to a highly reliable source positioned merely feet away, it was Boris who initiated the contact. Perhaps feeling the weight of the earlier awkwardness, or perhaps genuinely seeking a connection, he approached her. "Hey Elçin, you look amazing tonight," he reportedly said. His tone was described as friendly, perhaps overly so, an attempt to bridge the widening chasm between them with a plank of compliments. But Elçin Sangu, remaining true to the persona of the unapproachable sovereign she had adopted for the night, did not melt. She did not lean in. She simply nodded, a gesture of polite economy. "Thank you, Boris. Enjoy your evening." The response was surgical. It was polite enough to avoid a scene, yet distant enough to freeze any further conversation. It was a cordial wall. In this exchange, the third figure, Boris's new partner, remained largely silent, a spectator in her own date night. Witnesses suggest she appeared visibly uncomfortable in the presence of such a monumental force as Elçin. There is a specific kind of intimidation that comes from standing next to a woman who wears her history and her confidence like a suit of armor. Some sources claim she leaned in and whispered to Boris, "Is she always this distant?" To which Boris, caught in the crossfire of past and present, could only offer a nervous, tight-lipped smile. It is becoming increasingly clear that, despite their public attempts to project closure, there is an unresolved history between Boris and Elçin. At least on an emotional level. You do not greet an old friend with such icy formality, unless there is heat beneath the ice that you are terrified of releasing. The digital realm has, predictably, caught fire. Fans on social media are already weaving complex tapestries of theory and deduction. A significant faction believes that Elçin's "I don't compete with anyone" was not a general statement but a very specific, laser-guided message to Boris: "No one can take my place. I am irreplaceable." Others, perhaps more cynical, theorize that Boris's decision to debut his new relationship at this specific event, where he knew Elçin would be present, was a calculated move designed to provoke jealousy. If that was the strategy, it backfired spectacularly. Instead of crumbling, Elçin calcified into a diamond. She proved to be stronger, colder, and more composed than anyone, perhaps even Baris, had anticipated. The evening concluded with a tableau that serves as a perfect metaphor for their current trajectories. Elçin left the event alone, walking to her car with her head held high, the red dress still vibrant, a woman complete unto herself. Baris left with his partner, hand in hand, yet observers noted a thoughtful, almost melancholic expression on his face. This dichotomy leaves us with lingering questions. Is Elçin's indifference genuine, a sign of true healing, or is it a sophisticated mask worn to hide a bruising pain? The conviction in her voice when she said, "I don't compete," was so absolute that it is difficult not to believe her. She knows her worth. She knows she possesses the unconditional love of millions. At one point, a mutual friend leaned into Elçin's ear to whisper a comment, to which she replied loudly enough to be overheard by passing waiters, "The past is the past, my friend. The future is all that matters." That phrase was the final nail in the coffin of the evening's drama. Reflecting on the events of this tumultuous night, one thing becomes crystal clear: Elçin Sangu has evolved. She is no longer the girl who might be swayed by gossip or shaken by the sight of an ex-lover. She has established a boundary of steel. She is not an option, she is a priority. "I compete with myself to be better every day," this is the mantra of the new Elçin. And Baris? Well, Baris must now navigate the consequences of his choices. If there was a part of him that hoped to see a flicker of longing in Elçin's eyes, he was met only with the reflection of his own uncertainty. She shone brighter than the chandeliers. This story of love, jealousy, and pride is far from over. Where there is smoke, there is fire, and tonight, the embers were glowing hot beneath the surface of polite conversation. We will be watching their next moves with the vigilance of hawks. Will they ever share a screen again after this night of tension? Will Baris's new relationship withstand the shadow of the great love? Only time, the ultimate storyteller, will reveal the ending. But for this round, the victory belongs to the lady in red. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the labyrinth of celebrity emotion. This has been a special report by Whatever You Need. If this story moved you, share it. If you want more, subscribe. And if you want to be part of the family that makes this possible, click that join button right now. Your support is our strength. Until next time, stay curious and remember, know your worth and never compete. Good night.